strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ. Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for kind of animal?
That was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis Prograis. I'd love that. Sounds like a
I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then
that would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows.
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now, and he ain't gonna fight. I bet you anything, he's not gonna fight somebody as good as John Ryder. Thanks to those joining me live and those that be joining us here on the archive. We're back at it. I actually did this intro once, but hopefully we don't have to do it again. We are live this time. Shout out to the panel. I do have Joe Abib from Ringside Reporter. Make sure you check him out every Sunday with co-host Eric Florida. And the Roundtable will be on Ringside Reporter next week on Thursday. Of course, we have Manny in Vivo Marrero.
Let's try this again. In Vivo.
And Bibo, all right.
Always
Bibo.
With you guys on your
and Dave from the Shushan in the building as well.
Orale.
On 702. All right. Man, that first intro was way better, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, well, what are we gonna do? We can't. It's lost. It's lost in the mix, and of course, we also got. Let's get him on here. The one and the only Calix. A.K.A. CaliX Boxing, the guy that people thought was California. Got to
hit the like button. Hit the like button.
Hit the like button.
Father of the year up there. It's Father of the year, man. Keep
I just did it. It was like the greatest.
Ball. Make a man of him.
Oh,
that's
man.
right. We don't give away wins. You got to earn that win.
You got to earn every point.
Oh man! Just wait till he's old enough to dunk it on you. Just wait. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want to he's gonna be. Oh, my son just dunked it on me. I'm done. Like,
that's the goal. We're building champions at the Calix household.
That's right. Dan Hurley down here. That's right.
All right, let's go ahead and get this one started. You guys won't believe it. I did the best intro of all time, and we weren't live. I don't know what happened, but it is what it is. Shout out to the chat. Let's get this one started. Vergil Ortiz has agreed to terms to fight Bohachuk. Is that his name?
Bohachuk.
There we go. There we go. I was trying to get like with the Russian, the Bohachuk. You know what I mean? With the accent. But look, he's the guy that defeated Bryan Mendoza late March. You remember on the undercard of Tim Tszyu versus the Tower and Inferno. It was a pretty impressive win. Messed up the jaw of Mendoza. Floyd and I were actually out there talking to Mendoza the day prior to that. So he did win the interim WBC. So there we go. He'll be fighting Vergil Ortiz. We don't know yet, as of now, from what I've seen, if that fight's going to happen on the big card in Los Angeles. They probably should put it on there, but we'll see. Manny Marrero, talk to us. What do you think of that matchup? You know, it's not Tim Tszyu, but you know, it's you know, what do you think?
It's another chance for him. I mean, just think about this. You know, Vergil's coming from very difficult times at 147 with his condition, and so all eyes were on him in his previous fight when he fought Delorme. It wasn't a big challenge at all, to be honest. I mean, you know, I think Delorme moved up also as well. First time was fighting in that weight division too as well, and then so it's just not the same Delorme that we did see, you know, in the 140s and 147s. And so this was a chance for Vergil to kind of showcase and see how he comes back. And I got to say, he came back stronger. Didn't see a whole lot, you know, but definitely his game plan's always been to be a, you know, body puncher and just destroying his opponents. And so that's the case with Serhii. in this particular time is that he's a power puncher. So I think they're matching up well to continue to develop him, to see how strong he can get at that division. It's going to start getting stronger. I mean, Crawford's going to be there. There's a lot of opportunities. Team Zoo fight might come in handy too after this fight. I knew that wasn't going to happen immediately. I think Vergil needed this type of fights to keep developing himself in that weight class, getting stronger, see how he reacts with a very strong opponent. And so the way that he's looking, it's very promising. And I'm excited for that because, a few months ago, people were thinking retire. And we know that wasn't going to happen. Vergil is just an awesome human being inside, outside the ring. He's very, very talented. And then, of course, obviously he needed to take care of business, of his health. And I think he has done just that. He's got a great support around him. And best medical system here in the Metroplex in Dallas, Texas. So he's getting where he needs to be. I can't wait to see him out in the distance to see exactly what can he bring into the table in this new division that I'm going to tell you, man, in a year from now at 154, it's going to be I'm fire. I'm glad this is just not dominated by the Charlos or anyone like that. This is pure talent that is actually moving up, and we'll talk about future talented also contenders that are also in that division as well, and they're very promising. So I'm excited about the 154s, and I'm excited what the future holds for Vergil Ortiz.
All right. What do you think of this matchup, Babe? Obviously, it's not Tim Zoo, but what do you think of this fight?
Oh, this is a phenomenal matchup, and Bohachuk is a big big junior middleweight, excuse me. And he's got long arms too, 6 feet, 73-inch reach. And Vergil's a big guy too. Both of these guys have great jabs, and they can fight well on the outside, but they're not afraid to get on the inside, deep in that pocket, and grind it out. And this could be a fight where they're going to just meet in the center of the ring, and it's going to be who's going to be forced to take that backward step, right? That's what this is going to turn out to be, in my opinion. And Bohachuk is a tough guy, strong guy, great body punch. Both these guys have a lot of similarities, right? They both have extremely high knockout ratios. I think Vergil's perfect. And Bohachuk, the only time he didn't knock the guy out was when he lost to Brandon Adams, about 7 or 8 fights ago. So this is a tough fight. Thing is, Bohachuk's been in there and he's been active. He doesn't have the layoff and stuff like Vergil's had some quick fights recently. I was very impressed with that Mendoza win from Bohachuk. I thought he fought very well in that fight, and he won very handily in that fight, more so than I expected him to. This is going to be a tough one for Vergil. It's really going to be a tough one for Vergil. But if Vergil is what he was, and if he still is that guy, right? Because it's hard to figure that out with some of these, with some of these comeback fights. But he has done what he was supposed to do in these comeback fights. Don't get me wrong, but this is going to be that real litmus test for him against Bohachuk. And I'm really looking forward to it. Phenomenal fight.
All right, okay. Dave from the Shoe Shine. Can this be a banana skin here for Vergil Ortiz? Is it dangerous in your opinion, this fight?
Extremely dangerous. Of course, it's not the Tim Zoo fight, but this is the next best thing. And quite honestly, when we saw Bryan Mendoza carrying that WBC interim strap, even I didn't know. I'm like, what is that all about? So actually, this has some real significance here, because a win for Vergil Ortiz, this puts him as a WBC interim champ. We can see him fighting the Towering Inferno, possibly for unification, or setting himself up for the even bigger fight, which is Terrence Bud Crawford at 154. It means something. The Tim Zoo fight, now that Tim lost those titles, it wasn't going to put him in that direction necessarily. So this is a very dangerous, extremely good fight, a battle of attrition. B mentioned that Brandon Adams is the sole loss on Bohachuk. That happened many moons ago when Ring City USA was trying to thrive as a new network television program. But he got knocked out in that fight, guys. So we have to remember, if it's going to be a battle of attrition, Vergil Ortiz just may come out the bigger power puncher. And both of these guys can crack. I really did not see Bryan Mendoza getting his face rearranged like that. I don't think he was prepared for a fighter that strong, that big, and on a consecutive win streak. Bryan Mendoza had some real highs and lows. He's lost to Jesus Ramos Jr. He got beat up pretty bad by Tim Tszyu, which could have been part of the reason why it was so easy for Bohachuk. We don't know what a beating from Tim Tszyu does to somebody. We have to look at that loss there. It's a really, really dangerous fight, and it really has a lot of significance. And I like this fight just as much as a Tim Tszyu fight because I can see Tim Tszyu being an opponent down the line. I can see a unification match with the Towering Inferno, and eventually a really big payday for him and Terrence Bud Crawford potentially. If Vergil Ortiz is going to be the star that we all think he is, this starts here with a massive win in front of a big public stage.
All right. Calix, talk to us. Bohachuk, that looks that they've agreed to terms. What do you think of this fight?
I was looking for that news. I didn't see that they agreed to terms, so that is good news. I'm interested to see where that lands, if that still lands on that LA card. I hope so. That would be even better. But it's worthy of a main event too. If they do a main event for that, that's a main event worthy fight. Obviously tough. Bohachuk is a guy who it's been 7 or 8 fights, 3 years since that loss to Brandon Adams. He's come a long way since then, beating Mendoza in the last fight. Different fighter now out of Ukraine, and this is for an interim title. It's going to position somebody well. But the thing with Vergil Ortiz is this. We don't know who the true Vergil Ortiz is at 154 yet because we haven't seen him at 154. But I'm happy that he looks healthy at 156. 156 has been the weight the past 2 fights. So it looks like he's going to make 154 comfortably. We know how those last 2 pounds can be. We saw that with Ryan Garcia. He paid millions of dollars to not lose 3 pounds. So that's what I worry about for Vergil Ortiz, because this isn't the type of guy you mess around with, weight drained. So we're going to see a lot of what to expect with Vergil Ortiz going forward in this next fight. This is Vergil Ortiz 2.0, the guy that we thought was going to be this welterweight killer. It didn't end up being that way because he can't make the weight. Let's see if we can have that at 154, though. That door is still open, and I hope that happens.
That's a really good point. I like this fight, and the thing is that I believe Tim Tszyu is a more dangerous fight, although we don't know till these guys fight. But the reward is not as great as if he would have fought Tim Tszyu and beat Tim Tszyu. I think a lot more people are going to go into this fight expecting Vergil to win and not really understand how dangerous this fight is. This is a very dangerous fight. I remember Joe B pointed out how when the Tower Inferno, right, when Fundora was getting ready to, like, it was a last-minute replacement, right? He had a much better look with his sparring, preparing for Bohachuk than, and then switching to Tim than Tim did, going from Thurman to Tower Inferno. So this is kind of similar, but in reverse, right? It's just funny how Vergil's going reverse now. Like he was going to fight Tim, but now it's Bohachuk, but he's going to have more time to prepare. And I don't think much changes for Vergil. If he had a pre-camp like Tim did, I'm pretty sure nothing really has changed in his preparation. And we're not really going to know till we know with Vergil, right? We're not going to know until we can guess. We can, whatever it is, but until he's in there, he's gone 4 or 5 rounds, and he's got a hit to the body, hit upstairs. Till then, we're going to find out. We're either going to say, okay, Vergil's back, baby, or, man, Vergil ain't looking so good. It's going to be one or the other. Go ahead, Pete.
Do you remember if the fight with Tim Tszyu was for the interim WBO title? Because I think Fundora did Fundora officially get stripped of that WBO title, and the Tim Tszyu fight with Vergil Ortiz was going to be for the interim belt? Because I'm not sure if that was the case, but one thing I do like about this fight for the winner is having that interim WBC junior middleweight title puts you in position to be, put in a mandatory spot.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if Fundora has been officially stripped of that WBO title, and if they were going to either fight for the interim or for the vacant one, Vergil and Tim. But if that wasn't the case, obviously, I think that's a bigger fight. More people would be interested in that Tim Tszyu fight. But from a positioning standpoint, with this, for Vergil to have that opportunity to win this interim WBC title, it puts him right in line to win, to be considered for the world title and be put in that mandatory slot. So that's one thing, that could be a plus by fighting Bohachuk here.
It's a great question. I don't remember if I don't think it was WBO, but was it the interim WBA? Like I know there was an interim.
Was there an interim belt on the line?
There was. It was going to be an interim, but
Okay.
I don't remember which sanctioning body it was. If anybody in the chat wants to look it up.
So the WBC has Fundora versus Spence Jr. and then the interim is Bohachuk.
Mhm.
So this will be for the interim, and the recess is Mel Charlo. And the WBO right now it's still Fundora, and the interim is Bud versus Madrimov. So is that one going to be for the full? That's where.
Thank you, Calix, because yes, the WBO interim. So I if he was to fight Tim Tszyu, there would have been no interim belt, no belt. And you may say, who cares about that? And I get that too. But I'm just looking at it in terms of positioning. Getting that interim title puts you closer to the mandatory slot. So,
but who's going to be the WBO champ? That's what I'm confused by. Is it still?
It was a WBA. Well, Tszyu, I just looked it up. Tszyu Ortiz was going to be for the WBA interim.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I wasn't aware of that. Okay. So, no matter who he fought, no matter who Vergil fought, he was going to be fighting for an interim title. So I guess he would have been in position anyway.
It pays to have a name, right? Like
yeah. So Calix, I think what's going to happen is that WBO interim title is going to be on the line there with Madrimov with Crawford. Yeah.
You think they'll put the WBA too while they're at it, or are they going to wait for Tim maybe?
No. Well, I don't know. That's a good question. It's funny. I think all these sanctioning bodies kind of want to speed up the process and just get all these belts around Crawford.
Yeah,
hate to say that.
Well, not only that, I think when there's a star or there's some, like, to us, all this is confusing, even to us, right?
Yeah.
But for them, they're collecting 3% and like 3% here, 3% there. Like they're collecting.
Yeah.
That's all good.
Yeah, this is getting confusing though, because you're gonna have 3 interim champions plus the real champions. So it's gonna be crazy.
That's what they're doing for sure. Speaking of 154, Xander Zayas, in my opinion, if you didn't already think he was a contender, I think for sure he's gone from top prospect to official contender in this division, 154 pounds. Xander Zayas, who I actually had the privilege of interviewing a couple times, he defeated Patrick Teixeira, former WBA world champion, by a wide decision. I thought it was a really good performance by Xander. I thought he looked poised. I thought he took his time. And I thought even though there was maybe opportunities to finish Teixeira was a tough guy. It's hard. You're going to have to put yourself in more risk, maybe unnecessary risk to put a guy like that out. And I don't know if Xander necessarily needed to do more outside from maybe being more exciting. But I don't know. I find him fun to watch myself, the way he fights. Mm-hmm. Puerto Rico, like, is this a guy that they could get behind, right? I thought this was a great performance. Calix, what did you think of his performance against former world champion Patrick Teixeira? And what do you think his chances are becoming one of the faces of Puerto Rican boxing?
I think he's there. 10-rounder. So he's getting closer to that 12 round, right? So I think this was his first 10 rounder. I could be wrong on that. He's been consistently.
It's his third scheduled 10 rounder, but it's the first time he went 10 rounds. Yeah.
So he's at 10 rounds. He's getting, and he looked like, he looked like he could have went 12 to me. So I think he's turning himself into a 12-round fighter. He's been consistently fighting 3 times per year. We'll see him one more time in 2024, I'm sure. And I think they need to block off that Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend MSG and turn this guy into an MSG star. I think that's what we've been missing in boxing. Is we had that with Cotto. We had that with Trinidad. We had the Puerto Rican star in New York. And on top of that, we had other New York fighters, right? The Zab Judas of the world. And that's what Shushu Carrington can give us as well. We need that New York base back. We have the West Coast fighters right now. We have, of course, the Vegas market, but that New York market has been dead. I was talking to some people about that over the weekend. It was such a great time, and we were spoiled by it with Cotto headlining that weekend and headlining at MSG and the big theater so many times, a big arena. And on top of that, we had other New York fighters coming through, and we had Arturo Gatti right there at AC. We need that hub back, and Xander Zayas is the one that you can put that on. It's not Edgar Berlanga. That's done. It's Xander Zayas is the guy. He's a good kid, and here's the beautiful thing about it. He's marketable, good kid, consistent guy. But the thing is, he's another one of those guys, man, like talented but vulnerable fighters are the ones that sell. Those are the ones we're drawn to. And I saw that with Xander. I saw that with Shushu over the weekend. Is they fight in a style that they want to entertain. And that's going to bring vulnerability with them, but it's going to give us a connection to those guys that we've been missing with a lot of fighters. And Xander's one of those guys people's going to get behind. And he's getting close, man. I agree with you. I think he crossed that bridge from prospect to contender. He's there now. And I think we're looking at a year and a half before we're at 12 rounders and title fights.
Okay. All right. Shushan, talk to us, Dave. What do you think about his performance against Teixeira? And what do you think he could be the face of Puerto Rican boxing down the line here?
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure watching him. I got an interview with him when he was 17 on this hard drive on my computer. I know we've had him on the round on your channel. We've all watched him. I've seen 2 of his pro fights. It's been a really nice fight. I've been kind of critical of how slow I felt Bob and Top Rank was developing him, because I saw the development of Jesus Ramos Jr., who's just a year older than him. And Jesus has been 10, 12 rounds multiple times, and they're just a year apart, guys, in age. So I was a bit critical, but it all came to fruition on Puerto Rican Day Parade this weekend. I mean, beautifully. He finally got in there with a former world champion. And it's important to remember, as much as we'd like to see a Cotto performance against Malignaggi on Puerto Rican Day Parade, Teixeira is a tough guy who destroyed Carlos Adames, the 160-pound, WBC champion. I mean, he destroyed Adames. This is no bum, and he's no slouch. I've seen Teixeira fight. This was a really, really tough test for Xander Zayas that he passed with flying colors this weekend. He was not going to knock this guy out very easily, but we saw on multiple occasions that he had the guy on his bicycle with a real threat. He knew if he engaged with Xander, the much younger, stronger fighter, and he was mixing it up beautifully to the body, to the head combinations. He knew he was going to get knocked down or in serious jeopardy. I mean, the guy was basically trying to survive at Teixeira. And this is a former world champion at 154. No slouch. This was exactly what I needed to see. I'm all right with Xander not knocking out former world champion. As you get up there with the, the mix of top elite former champions or whatnot, you're going to be taking the distance. The question is now, how does he do against contenders his own age? What would happen if I see him against a southpaw like Jesus Ramos Jr.? Because he's not going to get these title fights that quickly. Like you guys said, maybe you put him a year away from that. In the meantime, do you put him against fringe contenders, or do you put him up against guys that are going to really test him for the likes of Tim Tszyu, the likes of Vergil Ortiz? He himself mentioned, he said, when they asked him who are the best at 154, he said, I am. And I was surprised to hear him say that because he's been so modest. But now that's the kind of bravado and confidence I need to see in him if he is going to be the successor, like you guys mentioned, to the Miguel Cotto, to be the Puerto Rican star that New York needs right now, that New York badly needs. I myself, when I saw Berlanga start to fall apart as competition got better, I knew Xander was going to take over that mantle. And I do think he is going to be the face of Puerto Rican boxing for the next 5 years. Potentially pick up a strap here at 154. I'll give a shout out to my co-host, Drew Evo. He thinks that Xander's probably not even going to stick around 154 because he's growing so fast and so strong so quickly that there's a real solid opportunity for him to go up to 160. He knows he took out the guy Teixeira. He might be a very good fit for a match sooner than later against someone like Carlos Adames. So we'll see where that all settles.
Joe, you're looking at Xander Zayas. People forget he's only 21 years old, right? So like if you're Top Rank, right? If you're Top Rank, do you speed up the process? Do you kind of keep the same pace here? How do you see him progressing, and how do you see him like in a couple of years, Xander?
Yeah, it's tough because there's a lot of really great fighters in this division right now, and 21 years old, I would probably, match him at this level for maybe one more year, and then I would start like kind of really accelerating it. Here's the thing: will he be the face of Puerto Rican boxing? Definitely has the potential to do so, but I notice a lot of people are expecting him to be like Cotto in Trinidad. And as good of a fighter as he is, I just don't think he's as dynamic as those guys. He's not going to have that like one punch like knockout power that Cotto had when he hit you to the body, or Trinidad when he cranked up that left hook on you. So I think people are expecting him to be those guys, and maybe he will, maybe he won't. But right now, it doesn't look like he is those guys. But that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? He's doing what he's supposed to do. I actually thought that the Teixeira fight would test him a little bit. I thought Teixeira would be crafty. I thought Teixeira would win some rounds. I thought Xander pitched a shutout. I didn't give Teixeira a round. So I like the way he works behind the jab. I like the way he sets up the shots. He's very accurate. Really good punch placement. Not predictable. I like how he changes levels. He's a really, really fundamentally sound fighter, but I don't think he's like got that dynamic power to him. But again, not everyone has to have that. So I know people complaining, he didn't get Teixeira out of there. And I think Bradley was very critical of the performance as well. But the thing is you just got to understand, some guys just aren't going to blow everyone out. This, I think Zayas is just going to be he's going to end up being a technician. He's going to be obviously an aggressive guy, but he's just going to be like a technician, like a swarmer type guy. Changes levels, throws feints to get in there, works behind the solid jab, and he's gonna look to break guys down, and he's gonna be more methodical in there. And this notion that he's got to go in there and blow guys out because Tim Bradley wants him to, I mean, I'm not on board with that. But I do think there's still a ton of potential there. I would give him another year though, if it was me.
Okay. Manny in vivo Marrero. Look, I remember when Trinidad, no one knew if he was going to come back after he lost to Bernard Hopkins. And then, they announced he was going to come back and fight Ricardo Mayorga from Nicaragua. And he destroys Mayorga in that fight. And I remember Lennox Lewis was on the commentary team. And they asked Lennox, "What you think of this event, Lennox?" And he looked around and he said, "This is good for boxing. Boxing needs a Puerto Rican boxing star," is what he said. Can that be Xander Zayas down the line, in your opinion? And what you think of his performance against Teixeira?
Well, first of all, performance fantastic. This kid is getting developed the right way. He's super smart. He listens to his corner. He sticks to the game plan, and he just gets better and better and better. He gets careless a little bit. He gets too anxious at times, and he missed a lot of good combinations. But the good thing is the consistency. Not only on the left hook on the body, he was doing double left hook, and then he was really fast with it, and over right hand also as well, landing some really good punches. And once you have a veteran in the ring, once you have someone that's been a champion before, which I talk a lot about this, and this is the difference between what Top Rank is doing with Xander, that Berlanga just couldn't stay longer with them, is getting them into a level in where they can match them and keep developing them. And I think right now, one of the most important things that every boxer needs to know and understand if you want to become a world champion, before you do that, you have to beat a former world champion. That's just continue to help you step up and move up in the ladder. And that was something that we didn't see with Berlanga. He wants Canelo directly right now. He wants to be the face of boxing. But you know what? Fight former champions to see if you can eventually contend with an actual champion. Now, going back into the subject is, as it pertains to his performance and then the way his corner it's leading him, it's taking him patient enough. right? It's going to get a little bit complicated because the 154, as I stated earlier, it's stacked right now with a lot of talent. And I'm not saying Xander cannot get to that level, but when you think about that right now, Vergil, it is a little bit slightly in advance when it comes to what Xander's doing. But Crawford, it's also most likely his goal wants to be unified and undisputed. And before that happens, is there a legitimate chance to put this kid eventually, if Crawford gets to undisputed or any of these top guys in 154? So the sound moving up, it makes sense. He's only 21. He's growing. He's getting big. He's getting stronger. But at the same time, you know, I think it's going to take some time. But I think probably the best matchup that I could see in this division, it might be Tim Tszyu, and it's still a dangerous fight for a young, talented kid that I just don't think that they're going to put him right now, open up the cages and put him in the lines right now. So there's still a lot to be developed. There's a lot of patience that needs to be done. And I think he's got it. He's got a great corner. He's got a great support system, family, parent. And here's the thing, right? As it pertains to the face of boxing, Puerto Ricans, we look for a story. We look for someone that can empower others. That is the difference between Berlanga and Xander Zayas. Xander's got the story. He's got the nice kid in where he was bullied when he was young. Remember, he was 16 years old when we had him the first time on the show. He talked to us a lot about that story, that side of it, how he started boxing, how he has committed, how hard it was to move from Santurce, Puerto Rico, going up into Davie, Florida, and changing the environment just because he was being treated different. And that's what people like. Then his charisma, then his personality, and he's an outgoing. If you guys have seen social medias on the parade, he was out there with the people mingling. He's always been like that. And so I've had the opportunity to go to 4 fights. As a matter of fact, I was there when Patrick Teixeira beat Adamesi beat Carlos Alamed when he beat him. That was a pretty shocking. We're expecting Adamesi to beat him in there, but it was funny. You know, that was one of those highlights of Xander's just being in the moment, and the way when he gets into the stage and walks the ring, like the whole entire room just lights up. The same thing happened in Orlando. Everyone's just waiting. It's like this the final person who's singing in a concert. They're waiting for it. This is a top guy. He's just still there. Right? So the story behind it, and in compared to Berlanga is portraying someone that is a bad boy, that is someone that is not connecting. I've been a fan of boxing since I was a kid. I grew up a lot watching a lot of different pay-per-views. My daughters too as well. If I want to sit down, and they like boxing, not like me, but if I want to sit down and say who really represents me, who really represents the youth, who really has that vision, and not only that, the drive to say he can impact a lot of lives positively, that is Xander Zayas, rather than having an Edgar Berlanga who hasn't shown anything. Plus, on top of that, he gets the support from the only current champions that we have, Subriel Matias, right? Bomba Gonzalez, and also, as well as we know, Pupilo Collazo, who had an amazing fight on Friday on DAZN, headlining again. So they are building little by little this Puerto Rican, youth coming up that I believe I agree with you guys, Calix and everyone. I said, listen, Puerto Rico, New York, boxing, we need a lot of more of this. I wish they could have just taken, obviously, the zone and compared to ESPN, but definitely it was a weekend to remember, and every year we have to ante things up because the reality is we need boxing. Fans need Mexican boxing. Filipino boxing's grown so much, right? And it's added to the mix, but Puerto Rican boxing, it is good. It is important. Gyms are packed with new talent individuals that we're going to start seeing at the end of it. But absolutely, I totally agree because it's the charisma, the way of his thinking, the way he fights. He's just a natural generational talent that's been developed the right way. Xander is right now, in my eyes, the face of boxing, Puerto Rico.
Okay, man. Well, we'll see what happens there. I know Oscar De Loya tweeted out, I want to see Xander versus Vergil. That's actually a good fight down the line too. But there really is no rush. He's only 21 years old, so I mean, it is what it is. And the only rush maybe, and I know Dave mentioned it, is like getting to title contention before you outgrow the weight class. But if you outgrow the weight class and just move up to 160, I mean, it is what it is.
Which is a weak division. I want to applaud Manny for bringing up that point, the stark contrast between other type of boxing stars we currently have out there. And you go exactly who I'm talking about, the importance of being a role model to the younger generation and how well Xander does that just by being himself. In stark contrast to somebody else who right now is in the limelight for all the wrong reasons, mixing it up, getting involved with law enforcement and whatnot. It's important. It's really important that Xander's developed as this Puerto Rican star because we need to continue the great tradition of Mexican versus Puerto Rico rivalries. You know what I'm saying? And right away, Oscar jumping on that saying, hey, I got Vergil Ortiz. That'd be a fantastic fight.
But think about it. Where was Vergil Ortiz 5 years ago? And was anybody calling for Vergil to fight the very, very top guy, right? Or one of the top guys 5 years ago? I just think they're at different places of their career right now.
I could see Xander mixing it up with Jesus Ramos Jr., a Mexican American from Arizona. I could see him mixing it up with Ryan Garcia, a superstar, and Ryan is playing the perfect role right now as the villain, while Xander Zayas is the complete opposite.
I could see that for sure.
I know people are getting impatient with Top Rank and some of their cards this year with matchmaking, but I still think they do the best job at identifying young talent, bringing it up in a way that's going to develop the fighter and give proper resistance and get to the truth quicker. So I think what they generally do once they get to this point is they pinpoint the guy for a 12-rounder, maybe give him a softer touch for the first 12-rounder, and then the second 12-rounder, as Manny said earlier, is generally a former champion, somebody like that, maybe for somebody fringe top 10, a little past it, and then see if they can get past that. It's like that general pecking order.
Yeah, and even a Jesus Ramos fight, a lot of people feel like it's not the right one because the loser can continue to lose his career. Not at all. I mean, the loser of that fight still going to have a great career, but it's going to be a great two young talented individuals, and that keeps that rivalry going, which is essentially what we want. Is we want people to start getting connected and bring those big fights. That whether it's Mexican, Puerto Ricans, or Filipinos, or whatever it is, especially in the UK too. But one important thing about, and just touch base on Calix, is Top Rank has a lot in their stable in that division that they can match him up and keep building him up. And that's one of the reasons why, when you have a talent like this, obviously they have been managing accordingly. Peter Khan's been done a great job too, along with, making those fights for him that can help him improve on some of the areas. And we see that. We see a huge improvement, back 6, 7, 8 fights ago.
Look, speaking of face, I remember once upon a time, AB about billions was called the future face of boxing, the future Mayweather. This is the dude. There was a time where, I'm very new to pound for pound list, but when everybody was doing their list, Adrien Broner was being put in top 5, top 10 pound for pound list, and Crawford was being left out. They thought higher of Crawford than Adrien Broner at one point. It's crazy to think that, but that was the case. Not with me, not with Calix, right? Not with a lot of us, but nonetheless, Adrien Broner at one point, the future Mayweather, and Maidana had something else to do with it, and we are where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, woo! Blair the Flair, woo! Cobbs drops Adrien Broner, knocks his teeth out, which is crazy. His mouthpiece out. He's picking up the mouthpiece like he's Mike Tyson in the Douglas fight. I don't know what the hell's going on. AB's looking slow. AB's not looking, he's looking lethargic in there, like a shell of his former self. I don't know what the hell's going on. But Blair Cobbs got himself a name. He's scoffing at $400,000 paydays now. I'm gonna fight Boots for $400,000. Who do you think I am? He just beat AB. You know what I mean? So, we are where we are. Adrien Broner. What would you like next for each guy here, Dave?
That was a performance by Blair the Flair. Shout out to him. Yeah, he's definitely good for boxing. Yeah, I appreciate what he does. But I don't want him to get too ahead of himself. Obviously, he needed a big name like that on his resume, but it's coming at that. For all intents and purposes, AB might as well have been a 40-year-old fighter, or you just beat a 47-year-old Pacquiao. Don't go thinking you're going to beat up Brian Norman or Boots Ennis at this point. It's a feel-good story for Boots because he was released from Golden Boy, and he was kind of found himself without a promoter and also being back in a dangerous position of like, man, I'm a fighter, but I've got no payday like Crowley, right? Like I'm here in Las Vegas. I came here 10 years ago and worked security at the casino strip, at a strip casino. Am I going to go back to that? He really needed this win and he put on the performance of his life. But again, it's to AB's looked like this for how many years now? 4 years, excuse me. Maybe since his return at Showtime where he got a gifted win on his return to Showtime. He's absolutely washed up. What's incredible about AB is on paper, people who get the vote, Boxing Writers of Association of America, they're going to have a very tough challenge when that name gets on the ballot first time, because on paper, he has all the accolades that he accomplished some great things early on in his career. And I think it was because of the mastermind of Floyd Mayweather, all because of Floyd. On his own, with a different promoter on DAZN or Top, they would not have done what they did with AB. We wouldn't even be talking about him like that. The fact that AB says he's not going to retire, well, I guess if you want to pay to see him get beat up one more time, I guess, and for the woo, good for him. You know what? I'd love to see him back, maybe headline a pro box card, or maybe someone will be very interested in him for something even more meaningful. Maybe he will get an opportunity at somebody like Brian Norman or somebody.
He thinks 400,000 is like, I got to fight for 400,000. Like, he's better than Flair. He's willing dealing. You know what I mean? Limousine riding, jet flying, the whole nine. Manny Marrero, Blair the Flair Cobbs beats Adrien Broner. What's next for Broner, if anything, in your opinion? What do you want to see next for Blair the Flair?
Well, first, Broner, I think he just needs to step out. And I think he's just doing it because he's just trying to cash as much as possible. I just don't think he's got it again. He's just not really, Bill Hutchinson, he's the only guy that fought well, and Giovanni. That's about it. No one else. And so you come with someone that had a devastating loss against Alexis Rocha. And so, that was expected a lot, and people were hoping that he would do a lot better than what he did. But then Alexis Rocha gets completely destroyed. And so I think right now for Cobbs, the best thing he should want, or they can do for him, is get him a rematch right now. So that will be fantastic for him. And on the other hand, he still has some left. I think, I don't know. I don't care really see AB anymore, but we're probably going to be able to see him. But with who? And what is he going to do? He doesn't have anything to show. Yes, he fought Maidana. He fought Pacquiao. He fought all these elite guys at one point that AB was, considered all about billions. He never made it to the billions. Millions, okay. But now he wants to still cash in as much as possible. And then Don King believes in him. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
It's about billions of brain cells.
Exactly. And so he's not in a good state of mind. He's never been. And I just don't think he can make a big difference right now other than just collecting a paycheck. For Blair, I'm happy to see him, get back in the ring after that devastating loss. And so we'll see what happens. He's not done. But I definitely want to see a rematch, Rocha against Blair.
Yeah. Calix, Blair the Flair pulled it off on a Don King card against an old AB. I guess he's not really old, but I guess he looked old.
Yeah, Blair by decision ended up being the play that cashed, and I didn't expect it to be close to even odds, but it was. I've never really seen what people saw in Adrien Broner, especially now at this point. It was sad to watch. Somebody put on Twitter, I don't remember who it is to give him credit, saying it looked as each round passed by that Adrien Broner was getting fatter. And that's kind of mean, but but it did look. As soon as he stepped in the ring and the fight started, I was like, oh my God! I tweeted it out. He just looks completely washed up. It was sad to see. He did not look like a 34-year-old. He looked 44, 50. I mean, he just looked like an old guy out of shape, trying to get a paycheck. And it was sad. Like it's really sad. I don't even want to, I've never been a fan, but I don't want to gloat over it. It was sad to see. It was just really sad to see a guy who has obviously blown his money, has not been intelligent with it. And now he's forced to stick around and fight for more money. And I don't think it's going to go well, because I think he's the type of guy he's not going to retire, fellas. He's already said he's not going to retire. So he's going to keep coming out, and he's going to keep, and it's going to end very, very sadly. This is not the end. That's the sad part about this. This is not the end. As far as Blair Cobbs, D-Style, he's also 34 years old, and he hasn't been active. And I don't know what you do with him either, to be honest, because you just hope these guys get paid from Don King. That's another thing. Like, you hope they get their paychecks and actually cash them, whatever they're supposed to get paid. And neither one of them is going to become a star off of this. Blair Cobbs doesn't become a star off of Adrien Broner's name in 2024. And how many people watched that pay-per-view? Probably like 12. So I don't know what you do with them at this point. I don't know what you do with Blair Cobbs either. Yeah, I watched it. I did, but I'm a junkie like Beeb. So,
yeah.
I don't know, but I don't know what you do with either one at this point. It just seemed like a fun throwaway fight. Even Rick Ross was there, and he looked washed up himself.
Hey, shout out to Sutter Kane, who's always said, you come out with a rapper, you're getting knocked out, right? Or you're going to lose, right? So it is what it is. Shout out to In the Ring with Christine. Thanks for joining us.
Sorry, I'm late.
Nando.
So hold on. You said every time you come out with a rapper, you're going to get knocked out. So
except Eminem.
But Eminem didn't rap.
Well, his voice was there.
True.
It's almost like he told him, you better not rap. You know what I mean? Or
well, he's rapping live at the next fight.
Well, there we go.
I'm not a fan of that, by the way. I'm not a fan.
It is what it is. Hey, Nando Llamas, he says, who got that pre-sale code? Man, well, shout out to you with that hard work.
I'm a hard-working man.
Right. Shout out to Nando Llamas, a hard-working man. Thanks for the support, brother. I much appreciate it. Beeb, what you think of Broner, man? Like, what do you think? You agree you should call it a day? And what would you like to see next from Blair Cobbs?
Yeah, I'm not really interested in seeing Broner fight again. I'm sure he probably will, but I don't know if it's going to be against anyone viable, or if he's ever going to be in a decent fight again. But again, he may need the money. I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't, but I can't speak on that. Blair Cobbs, you got to be careful with Blair Cobbs, right? Because as good as he is, I mean, he does have some liabilities, right? But you know what's crazy? I wouldn't mind seeing him in there with someone like Conor Benn, because that would be like a fight where he can make some good money in, and it'd be a little bit intriguing because Conor Benn's still a little green too. So that would be a kind of an intriguing fight, because I do believe Eddie was talking about Conor Benn fighting Broner before. So now that Blair Cobbs beat Broner, why not fight Blair Cobbs? And Blair Cobbs definitely has the personality. He can do really good in terms of getting the pre-fight build-up going. So I wouldn't mind seeing something like that.
All right. Okay. Christine, did you get an opportunity to either watch the fight or any highlights of AB about billions? He got knocked down. He got outboxed by Blair, the Flair, Cobbs. And can you give us a woo? Like, woo!
Yeah, woo. But I did get to see the highlights.
Whoa!
Going into it, so Blair Cobbs, so he beat Maurice Hooker, and he did a very good job. He did. I mean, obviously, everybody behind the scenes knew the mental state and the things that Maurice was going through, but that's no excuse. And Blair, I think he gained more confidence, and he did what he had to do, against Adrien. I feel bad for Adrien. He flushed all his money down the toilet, literally, and he wants a comeback. I think that this was the perfect opportunity for him to prove that he belongs back in the sport, because back in the day, we all saw him. I mean, in the amateurs, when he first came out in the pros, he was the shit. He was legit. but I think his time has passed. I feel bad for him because obviously he regrets like flushing the money down the toilet. But Blair did what he had to do, and I give him props. I am with Beeb. I would like to see, and it's so funny because I thought about that. I was like, Conor Ben, that would be a good matchup, and that would be a good payday. So as far as seeing him beyond that or with anybody else, no. But then again, who could Cobbs fight too, really? Like, was this his big, show out fight? Like, what else could he do? Who could he fight that he would beat?
How about Giovanni
Rematch.
Santillán? If you
Rematch, Rocha.
Yeah, I like the Rocha, but also how about Giovanni Santillán's coming off of the most brutal loss
Hey
of
guys,
his
but
career.
you got to keep in mind now. He's turning down 400,000 to fight Boots, right? Which is his right. I'm not here to say he should and should, but
I mean,
how much does he expect to get against the Rocha, against the Santillán, against against a lot of these dangerous guys?
Why not fight Boots? Why not?
Like Norman's a dangerous fight. I think Norman beats the hell out of Blair. You think he's gonna take you think they're gonna offer him 400,000 for that fight?
No.
I don't know. I like the Rocha rematch though, but
the Boots sounds good too, because I think that Boots can say, I'll take that one too. That'll be a good match for me. I can definitely beat him rather easily, and then Cobbs can say this will resuscitate my career, especially at the division for contention world title.
I think that Ben fight for Blair is definitely winnable. I think
can Ben come back at 147?
No, I don't think it's winnable, but it's the best.
At 147?
147?
Yeah.
Are you sure, Alex, that Conor Ben can make that weight comfortably?
I don't think so.
No, but I don't know. But Conor Ben, I think
so.
But it's the best. It's a good fight for him because as far as names, it's the most winnable fight for him.
That's what I mean. It's the most winnable fight for him. Yeah, it's the most winnable name fight for him.
Exactly, and it's a good fight for Conor Ben. Conor Ben needs to get things going too. He does. It's a good fight for him.
Boots needs to get things going. Let's just be
honest. Boots got to hurry up. Like, what's going on with Boots?
Boots versus Cobbs could be very intriguing in Philadelphia. I mean, you have both of them are Philadelphia natives, and he's a story of him coming back to Philadelphia to say, Boots ain't the guy, and the ticket sales for the Boots fight did extremely well. Unfortunately, Crowley had to pull out, but that Philadelphia is coming back. You got Danny Garcia, his promotion companies are going to debut, I believe, this upcoming week.
Yeah.
Philly's due for a comeback.
So Blair Cobbs was offered that Boots fight. That's true.
I didn't hear about that.
There's an interview. There's an interview of him saying he would turn it down.
Well, yeah, there's an interview where he said, "I'm not going to take 400,000 to fight Boots. Crawley will do that, but not me." That's what he said.
If I was Blair Cobbs, I would take the 400,000.
Absolutely. I mean, there's not going to be another bigger payday. Like, sorry.
And if he loses, the next fight's probably going to be 300 and 250. So he's going to make some money in the next couple.
But sometimes when the opportunity comes, you gotta seize the moment. In my opinion.
Facts. He's no spring chicken.
I still remember Juan Lascano from El Paso turned down I think it was like 3 or 2 week notice to fight Mayweather for $1 million, and he turned it down.
Jesus Christ!
Because he needed more. I'm not going to fight Mayweather without preparing, and then he lost. He got 100,000, and he got beat up by Castillo. I mean, like, it is what it is,
That's horrible.
I know, but he's still the Hispanic causing panic. Shout out to Juan Lascano. So it is what it is. It wasn't about billions, and Adrien Broner's got a lot of problems. He's not just the problem. Got a lot of
and no billions, no millions.
Hey, Christine, since you came in after I said this, there was a time where the boxing world and a lot of they placed Broner above Crawford when they were fighting in the same division, which is hard to believe. Any thoughts on that?
You said it. Hard to believe. Like what?
No comments.
I mean, I'm just saying.
No comment.
I mean, Broner was a
everyone
future
believed it.
Mayweather.
Everyone believed it. Everyone was like, was on board the train, AB train.
My stomach is turning right now.
Because they go, it's like the masses go with whatever the media puts out. It's like, do your own research, like watch, look, pay attention, listen. They just, oh yeah, they said it, so it must be
Oh,
true.
yeah. That Twitter's killing brain cells daily, man.
Lord have mercy.
That's right.
Lord have mercy.
Let's talk about the zone. It's going to be Matias from Puerto Rico having his homecoming. And you know, like in college football, and I don't know about college, but like high school football, so like the homecoming games were like the gimmies, like you know what I mean? Usually when a guy goes back home, you know, it's kind of like hey, it is what it is. Here's my opponent. That's how I feel they're treating a very dangerous Paro, in my opinion. Paro from Australia. I don't think this is a gimme at all. I think this is a possible banana skin. It's my opinion. Doesn't mean I think Matias is going to lose. I just think people got to be careful. I hope Matias isn't overlooking Paro the way the general public's overlooking Paro. I would say that. Matias has been a terror. He's been making guys say no mas in that corner. He's forced cornermen to stop these fights. Fight after fight. He's doing his own Nomaschenko, like Matiaschenko, like whatever you want to call it. Can Paro put a stop to this? Christine? Possible upset, or what do you got?
Paro he's going to try to outbox Matias, in my opinion.
Are we going to adopt him like Paro, like the way you're pronouncing it? Are we going to adopt him? Is that what we're going to do right now?
So how do you want me to pronounce it, bro?
He could be Latino. He could be a Latino for a weekend. I'm down.
He
down
can be Latino for a weekend, but is he going to try to outbox him? Because we know, can he out muscle him? Can he outpower Matias? You know?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think his smartest move would be to try to box him. Okay. You know, not get hit. But as far as when it comes down to being in the pocket, he has nothing.
That's what Matias wants.
Yeah, and Matias is going to get it because he's going to cut the ring. He's going to corner him, and they're going to have a dogfight, and then Paro's going to be done, in my opinion.
Oh, stoppage.
Yeah, stoppage.
Corner stop, or do you think his cornerman says?
I mean, I don't know, but either way, it's not going to end well. Like I said, you can try to outbox him, but I think Matias is going to get him. He's going to get him where he wants him, and then he's going to end it.
Okay. All right. Calix, is this a homecoming game, like for real, or is this like a very dangerous matchup here? How do you feel about this fight?
Odds makers are giving Matias an 85% chance of winning. He's almost a 10-1 favorite. I actually think I've been thinking about this week because you have 3 fights and 2 of them are 7-1. This is close to 10-1. I think they're all about equal as far as a possible upset. I don't think we're going to get an upset this weekend in a big fight. I think Tank's going to win. I think, all that stuff. But I think Matias will win. But this is the trap part of this fight is, remember when Danny Garcia, he had the big wins against Amir Khan. He had the big win against Matisse, and he's looking great. And it's looking like this guy's really got something going. And then what happens? He goes to Puerto Rico, and he fights Herrera, and all of us had him losing that fight to Herrera. It's something about that homecoming fight that's a trap. I saw Regis Prograis last year. I go to New Orleans. He fights Zarilla, and he looked terrible. And a lot of people feel like he lost that fight. And Paro was out supposed to be his opponent that night. And I still feel like if Paro was his opponent that night, even with the difference in styles, he beats Regis Prograis in hindsight that night. I think he would have upset Prograis. So a lot of times, fellas, that homecoming fight can be a trap. And that's what I worry about for Matias in this fight. And that's why we have a possible upset alert with this fight.
But ultimately, do you put Prograis and Matias on the same level?
No, not right now. But you could put Matias in the momentum he has going right now with Danny Garcia. And he doesn't even have as much momentum as Danny Garcia had at that point. But when you do that homecoming fight, you want to impress so bad that sometimes you fight a different way. And that's what I saw at Danny Garcia that night with Herrera. And that's how Matias could be a little too anxious in this fight, and Paro can take advantage of that because he's a tough customer. He's not an easy dude.
And I agree, unless you have that very strong mental game where, like, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna do what I got to do. So I get what you're saying. I do. But there are some people that are levels above, and they're like, their mental game is so strong, and that's so important that they're just like, it doesn't matter where I'm fighting. I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna whoop you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes
I don't think I'd want to. I don't think I'd want to do a homecoming fight. I think there'd be too much going on.
Pressure.
Too much going on. Too much pressure.
Damn, okay.
He's been
Well-
wanting this for a while, so he'll build from this. Yeah.
So look, Joe, Paro showed Montana love, no love, and now he's ready for this one. Do you think he's being overlooked here, or do you think it doesn't even matter? You think Matias is going to win it? How do you see this fight?
Well, I will say this. I don't think Paro has the firepower to deal with Matias. Matias has got a granite chin. He's got a very solid defensive construct. Now, people say he gets hit a lot, but does he really? I mean, he rolls these shots. He tucks his chin. A lot of these shots graze him. I think his defense is a little bit underrated. Paro's got quick feet, and he moves very well. And Christine's 100% right. He should box and try to move a lot as much as he can, and not stay in the pocket for long periods of time and get subjected to that power in the mid range, particularly in the mid range on the inside. But this guy just doesn't have that mentality. I mean, at points in fights, he likes to slug it out. I think he's gonna get lulled into something that he shouldn't get lulled into, and then I think he's gonna get caught in an exchange, and he's gonna get trapped in a corner. And I think the ref's gonna wave it off. I think Matias stops him in 6 rounds.
Oof. Okay. Manny en vivo, Marrero.
Vivo. Oye, el orgullo de Maternillo. Man, this guy is making a huge impact and gaining fans over and over and over. Why? Because his style. That's brawling. That's brutal. You know, just doing the things he does. And I'm gonna tell you, he's gonna take the first round. He's gonna get hit a lot, and then he's gonna come back in the second round. He's gonna get hit more, and then after that, it's just gonna be Suri and Matias after that. Now, on the other hand, you know, obviously, Paro's got some experience with another Puerto Rican. Another huge contender in that division was Jomar Alamo. A guy that doesn't have a lot of power like Matias, but you know, if you compare both of the levels of their styles and their techniques, Matias, it is slightly above, in my eyes, than Jomar Alamo. And he almost lost to Jomar. The split decision, I did see that fight that obviously Paro did win it, but it could have gone either way. It was a split decision. That kind of took all chances of Jomar Alamo to become a world champion at 140. And then here comes, you know, Eddie Hearn's little hidden gem and baby. And it's like, damn, boom, Montana Love, done. I mean, you know how much Eddie Hearn has bragged about Montana Love. It was shocking for me to see Montana Love losing that fight. But at the same time, yes, Paro's got the last 4 fighters being undefeated, and he has beat them in there. But they're not at the same level that Matias is right now. I am a little bit concerned with what you guys are saying because, yes, we call it el frío olímpico. How do you say that in English? It's like when you go in and you get those goosebumps and all of a sudden things don't happen your way. Like you choke at the last minute, right? I am slightly concerned about that. But the excitement that he's been building in Puerto Rico, training camp, you know, even Manny Rodrigo, who's lost his belt, even the rest of the other Puerto Rican champions, they're just grasping it all together and just building from what we currently have right now. And Matias is part of that. From all the current champions, besides Amanda Serrano, Matias is the strongest world champion, Puerto Rican world champion at this particular time, and they're building up from that. I'm curious to see why they put this fight all the way down on the other side of what is it? It's Manatí, which is about 15 minutes away from my own hometown, but he's from Pardo, so he's probably about 45, 50 minutes away from it. Coliseo Juan Albin Cruz in Manatí, but it's a good area. It's a very central local area. It's just every corner that you go, every weekend, whether there's a Puerto Rican boxing or there's not a Puerto Rican boxing, just boxing at all, there's always TV showing boxing, especially when you have the caliber of a guy of a Matias, the way he's been building up, and not to mention the possibilities, the opportunities that now people are starting to see him as a true legit world champion that can definitely unify and can definitely eventually aspire to get beyond undisputed. That's a lot to say, and people are wanting and waiting for that. There's just a big hype of it right now. I tell a lot of my friends, listen, just slow down your horses a little bit, right? One fight at a time. That's all we need to do. One fight at a time. But the reality is people want to see Subriel Matias and Gervonta Davis. And so because of that, it is attracting so many people to be part of that event. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. But at the same time, it's excitement because Gervonta Davis is pretty much like, I don't want to say face of boxing, but he's up there. He brings revenue, he brings these rappers, and he's got all this circle of people, and packs stadiums. And so even Ryan Garcia also is there. So it's going to be a lot of different opportunities for major fights that we're probably going to see in 2025, and that gets people excited, especially when you have a Puerto Rican guy like Subriel Matias that can brawl, that can fight, that can give me excitement, that can actually get down and get back up and just make things happen, and get people up their feet and up their toes and screaming and loud and yelling and claiming back again, the mega box in Puerto Rico to have more champions and more talented around them and keep building. And so that's what Subriel is doing, along with Pupilo Collazo, along with Boma Gonzalez, even Amanda Serrano. That fight couldn't happen over there in Puerto Rico, but people kind of sad a little bit about that. But they're starting to build around these guys, and they're doing a really good job, while the other guys are starting to get developed when we were talking about Xander Zayas.
All right. Dave, 702, talk to us. Can Paro pull the upset here? What do you think?
All credit to Christine. Her take was spot on how I felt immediately. I feel that Paro, if he doesn't come with the right game plan to box and avoid as much damage as possible, I just feel that Subriel Matias is probably the best 140-pounder in the entire division. His power that he generates in the mid-range and in the pocket is incredible. It's rather incredible, and he can cut off the ring. So I think it's going to be a very long night for Paro if he chooses to engage in the pocket and be a hero. So it's really going to matter what kind of game plan him and his team is going to come up with to win some rounds, just to win some rounds. Then again, Calix Boxing brought up a great point, because I had just talked about Danny Garcia's promotional company. I was like, man, Danny Garcia failed horribly that night when he went for his so-called homecoming. But how much of that was cultural too? Because I'm not even sure. Does anybody know if Danny Garcia speaks Spanish?
No.
I know he does. He does not, and that's the funny thing about that is he was trying to gain popularity with the Puerto Rican community, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know. As a matter of fact, they didn't really like this happening.
You can't just show up and be like,
right, and say this is my homecoming.
I'm Puerto Rican now. I want attention. I'm Puerto Rican, and you know what? Everyone was rooting for Herrera to be there, so he didn't gain a lot of fans when he did that.
And thank you guys for bringing up Herrera. That was Herrera's. Yeah, Herrera, that was his biggest win he never got. Yes. But and also, Devin Haney managed to put on the performance of his lifetime against Regis Prograis in San Francisco. That's like he was straight up born in San Francisco. So that was an incredible homecoming. So I don't think that's going to be a factor here. I think straight up, Matias he's gonna be able to put this guy out in the later rounds. Paro will be lucky to make the later rounds. And he just reminded me, man, there's some incredible matchups to make, even at 140. Great Puerto Rican and Mexican rivalries. I would love to see Matias against Pitbull Cruz. I didn't think Pitbull Cruz would be so competitive at 140, but I think the public will start to demand that. Hopefully.
Yeah, I like it.
That's a great fight, Dave. I didn't even think of that. What a great fight.
A Haney fight for unification.
Matias ran from PBC because he saw this dude.
I know he did, but the Saudis, but with all the great fights the Saudis are making happen, maybe Turkey can make that one.
He thought Cruz ran him out of PBC. We thought like you want to see like what is that about?
Whoa, that's blasphemy.
That's ridiculous.
Hey man, so you tell me that like Danny could pull off some like reggaeton or something, because he's kind of doing the whole rapping thing.
Not on the level. Come on, man. Come on.
Like Daddy Yankee style, you know what I mean?
No.
Come on now.
Calix knows all the lyrics from his rap. Like if you could just do it in Spanish.
You gotta do more than that. You gotta do more than that.
Right.
Yeah. I like Daddy Yankee, by the way. Big fan.
Oh, yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, so I guess not. It is what it is. Okay. Shout out to Amanda Serrano doesn't know Spanish either, though. All she knows is mi gente.
She speaks Spanish.
But she
All
bought a
she
house in
knows is
Puerto
mi
Rico.
gente. She's like,
bought a
mi
house in Puerto
gente.
Rico.
I'm
She's
so
going back to
sorry.
her roots. She's
She can
trying.
speak
She's
Spanish.
trying.
All she says is
speaks
mi
Spanish.
gente. That's all she says. Mi gente.
Why is he?
Okay,
Why is he
but
hating?
she bought a house over there. She's living over there.
Yeah,
She's
she
staying over
lives
there.
there.
She's doing the
She's
best she
trying.
Goes
can.
like this. Mi gente.
Jake Paul. Jake Paul's
Okay, so
Puerto
Jake
Rican.
Paul-
Sorry.
Jake Paul's
Paul's Puerto Rican.
considered a Puerto Rican right now, right?
Yeah.
Dorado, Puerto Rico. He doesn't speak Spanish, and they still love him, right? That doesn't really matter. That she's trying. I agree with Christine. She is trying, and she has done
Exactly.
wonderful interviews in Spanish with a lot of influencers, with a lot of
You-
media in Puerto Rico.
You
and
can't
she
help
does
the
well.
way you were raised, how your parents
Exactly.
raised you.
Neither can, but that's what I mean. Neither can Danny Garcia.
D-Style's hating. D-Style's hating.
Yeah,
He's
but when
hating.
you're doing it,
He's
when
hating.
you're doing for popularity or to gain more attraction, then that's a different story. It was just too obvious.
Here's the
And
difference
we don't
between
like that. We just don't like
Here's the
that. Now you're
difference
suddenly
between-
Puerto Rican now.
Here's the difference between Amanda and Danny. Amanda was always in Puerto Rico, always
Yes.
went back there. She is
Exactly.
a figure in Puerto Rico.
Absolutely.
This isn't hard to figure out, please.
At all.
When have you seen the Puerto Rican flag in Danny Garcia's trunk?
In fairness,
Oh.
Danny was more like for a while people didn't even know this Puerto Rican. They would ask, like, is it so? What is he? You know what I mean? Like, is
Yeah,
he
me
Mexican?
proud.
Is he-
Proud.
He's proud. I mean, he's got some blood. He's got some Puerto Rican
Listen,
blood.
Danny
No
knows
doubt
what's
about it.
going
My
on.
daughters,
Put
my
it
daughters
out
were
there.
born here in Texas. My daughters were born here in Texas. They've never, the little one never been to Puerto Rico, and she speaks Spanish. She speaks Spanish perfect,
That's
Puerto
right.
Rican Spanish, right? And they know the roots and they understand where they come from.
Listen to me.
Calix sings the corridos and everything, and mariachi and the whole night.
Oh, I do.
Y'all just never heard it.
I
That's
love
all.
it. I love
Danny's
it.
qualified to have these discussions, please.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
That's hilarious.
Teach him, Manny, please.
Let's go ahead and proceed here. Let's talk about. I mean, PBC's had. I'm losing count of all the events. This is event number 2. In the whole year, this is insane. 2 events in the entire year. I'm still waiting, Dan.
Right.
Remember Dan Ralph reported they're going to have all these free events, and I haven't seen them. You know, I'm still looking. It is what it is. I'm like that Wile E. Coyote meme where he has the binoculars. Like I'm looking for these PBC events. I'm going to just
Don't
come
be a
over.
hater.
But I will say this though. We have 2 fights that are, decent fights, in my opinion. The first one is more intriguing to me, and that's David Benavides. He's going up to 175 pounds, fighting former world champion Gvozdyk, who's only lost to Better Beef, who many consider the best in that division. Some have, like Teddy Atlas already gave him the touch of death by picking him to win, but hopefully he could overcome that. Look, at the end of the day, Gvozdyk, great jab, great boxer. He's got really good power, in my opinion. As we know, he beat Adonis Stevenson in a very unfortunate fight. Unfortunate what happened to Adonis Stevenson there.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, he's a guy that, and this has been a big year for Ukraine. Well, Ukraine's been on a roll, right? So like his whole class, I know our guy Vaquero Navarrete lost to a Ukrainian. Beebs dude Fury lost to Ukrainian. Camboza, speaking of the Kangaroos, lost to Ukrainian in Australia. So they're in a row, and here we are. Gvozdyk, he's an underdog, but this is his weight class. Benavides is moving up. I don't know if Benavides can enjoy. I think he is bigger than Gvozdyk. I just don't think he's as big as he's been used to being against other guys. Beeb, what do you think of this matchup here? And the poll that you guys can see in the chat, over 50% believe this is the most likely upset of the weekend. Do you agree with that?
A lot of people are saying it. Dave, your partner Drew was in my chat yesterday. He's picking Gvozdyk. He thinks Gvozdyk's gonna pull off the upset. I'm not sure if he picked Gvozdyk by stoppage, but he thinks Gvozdyk's going to win. Teddy Atlas thinks Gvozdyk's going to win. A lot of people think it's going to be a tough fight. And Gvozdyk is a great boxer, but since coming back after being off for so long, I think think he stepped away in 2019 and came back in 2023. And I had him winning the Beterbiev fight. I had him up before he got stopped. I thought he was boxing beautifully, but he just had that bad round and he just couldn't recover from it. And that was the end. And what did him in was the pressure, right? Because he could only move so much. And that's one thing David does very well. Now, you can argue David doesn't hit as hard as Artur Beterbiev, but David's quicker than Artur Beterbiev. David's got quick feet. He really collapses that pocket quick. And you just can't keep – it's hard to keep David off you, right? Because of the hand speed, the foot speed, and just that relentless pressure that he has. So – I don't know. Gvozdyk's been really slow rolling it since coming back, and this is like the first really tough fight that he's had. So David's got momentum. I'm gonna go with David here, and I'm gonna pick David in a late round stoppage, probably around maybe 10 rounds here. I think he's gonna stop Gvozdyk. I think Gvozdyk will not be able to deal with the pace of David. I think David will go to the body a lot in this fight, try to slow down the movement. And I think he'll end up breaking Gvozdyk down. And I think Gvozdyk will wilt in the end under the pressure. So I think it's going to be a very, very tall task for Gvozdyk fighting this young lion, David Benavides.
Go ahead, Manny.
Go ahead, Manny.
Well, I agree with you exactly. You know, the way I'm thinking about what's going to happen in this fight, and just when I always also think that this is just the entry door for the future of Benavides. And don't you think that you're risking yourself a lot? And when I say risking, is with an opportunity with Canelo, which a lot of fans want to see that fight, right? And so for whatever reason, it hasn't happened. But this is the route he took to be able to get to Canelo. Canelo has always wanted to get another champion in another division. Couldn't do it with Bivol. If he does and gets this win in this fight, he's probably most likely going to be next in line of the winner of Benavides and Bivol. And that's something that if he gets that opportunity, he's going to get, you know, the chance of a lifetime, not only to become undisputed, but also to get that opportunity to get Canelo's attention. He's got Canelo's attention for a while. Canelo does whatever he wants to do. But at the same time, right now, go out there, prove yourself. There's nothing else to do. What is it? He's got one more fight with PBC, then he can be on its own after this fight. So all these contract stuff, and we can't make the fight because PBC, because the zone, whatever it is. It never happened with Canelo with PBC. So why should it happen right now? Well, there's money, there's no money. The guarantee for Canelo, but no, he's taking a bigger risk. I do give him the credit for that. He's got the cojones to do that. Moving up in a different division and then fighting a former world champion, which is considered one of the best in the divisions, a guy that was fighting great against Artur Beterbiev, and he just, the pressure. But there's a different pressure that Beterbiev has against Benavides. Benavides, the pressure is more the jab. Benavides is just the lateral movements and the constant throwing of combinations that eventually that's the pressure that he's going to feel, that night. And I agree. I don't see it in an early stoppage. I think most likely between the 9 and 10 round, that's where Benavides has shown to shine more and bring that endurance that he's been building up. I don't know the weight, how he's going to affect them. It is the first fight at 175, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, first fight of 175. So how is he going to adapt? He has had issues, making 168 for the longest. Maybe he feels more comfortable. Maybe this is the route. And I said it all along. I said, guys, Benavides is going to get the Canelo fight, but he's going to be undisputed at 175. This is the chance, getting the key to the door to get that opportunity to be next against the winner of Benavides and Bivol.
All right. Shout out to MAW from Australia with a $5 Aussie dollars. Hello, boxing fans, Roundtable and chat. Subscribe, share, and smash that like button. Please, folks, Gvozdyk is a big step up for Benavides. We will see.
I'm a hard-working man.
That's right. All right.
I don't like how you said that Aussie dollars. Like Aussie dollars beneath
Aussie
you?
dollars.
What is that? What is that?
Australian currency. D-style Australian currency.
The Australian. Shout out to the bloke, MAW. Shout out to him. I'm under Australia. I'm okay.
You love that accent.
So I want to go to my mate, Calix. Talk to us. How do you see him, mate? How do you see how do you see Gvozdyk against, Benavides here? Is this a possible? Do you agree with the chat that this is the most likely upset of those three fights anyway of the weekend?
If I had to pick one, I would say, yeah, probably. But it's close. So Reynoso, this is a Reynoso fighter in Gvozdyk. Reynoso is going to be there. So when this fight was first announced, I was like, okay, then they're going to do Canelo Benavides next. That was my original thinking, is they're going to be there. He's going to be there up close and personal to scout the future opponent, and then they're going to pick Benavidez's game plans apart and his style apart and go from there. So that still could be the possibility there. But he's 37, Gvozdyk, and he had like a 3-year gap there, 4-year gap after that tough loss to Beterbiev, which I also felt he was winning that fight. I think he was up on 2 scorecards at the time of the stoppage as well. But so you can get Gvozdyk plus 1,200 by decision right now. Yeah. And here's another thing that I'm looking at is Gvozdyk to get a stoppage in rounds 9 through 12 late is plus 2,200. So you can put a little bit of money down on that if you feel like you could lose. 2,200 plus 2,200. And the reason I throw that out there is his big stoppage, the biggest stoppage of his career, Adonis Stevenson, came in the 11th round. So this is the first fight where Benavides hasn't had a huge, like a noticeable size and reach advantage over his opponent. And I also disagree with Beeb in that Beeb, and we've talked about this, Beeb thinks that Benavides has fast feet. I don't agree with that at all.
He's a flash, this guy. I have to slow it on my TV.
I don't agree with that.
I slow it on my TV when he fights, man. I can't even keep up with his foot speed.
I don't agree with that at all. I think he's able to put himself in places against these smaller opponents. He does do a good job of cutting off the ring against these guys. But this is going to be the first fight where he doesn't have a noticeable size and speed, size and reach advantage. And we'll see how that plays out against Gvozdyk, who can box. So I don't agree that he's fast-footed. I don't agree with that at all. And I think Gvozdyk's going to be tougher to nail down for him. And this could become a fight, but
ultimately, he is the nail. So
yeah, ultimately, I just go back to there's a reason Gvozdyk is there, and I think he's there to prep for something in the future, and Benavides gets by it. But I am taking out a small waiver on Gvozdyk 9 through 12 stoppage at plus 2,200. That's way too tempting.
Whoa!
Plus 2,200. That's way too tempting to pass up. Way
go
too
to the casino and play some baccarat.
If Benavides ain't about that life, Beeb, and we'll maybe see against a bigger opponent.
The red flag is going to put a blanket on Gvozdyk.
We got over 56 votes. 54% believe Gvozdyk is the most likely to pull the upset.
Gvozdyk could take him to deep water, and we'll see.
A lot of people have faith in Gvozdyk. A lot of people have faith in
someone
Gvozdyk.
said a comment there about that, Benavides couldn't knock out Plant. I mean, how do you think he's going to knock out someone that's in his own division and doesn't have the power to 175? So that's a pretty good statement there. So you could be right. I mean, you could be in the money. So we'll see. 2,200, that's a lot.
But I'm picking Benavides to win the fight, though.
You're just throwing money. You just want the money.
So
yeah, there's value there, but Benavides, he should win this fight, right? If he's anywhere close to if he's anything close to what people say about him, he should win this fight easy. 37, washed. I mean, Gvozdyk's washed, fellas. He's washed.
Whoa.
He's washed.
Whoa!
Wow!
Whoa!
But you're betting on him. You're wagering on him.
I'm throwing 10 bucks down.
It's like playing the lottery.
I'm confused here a little bit.
Well,
no.
Manny, when you play the lottery, you don't go in the next day and give you 2 weeks' notice. You know there's a chance you're not going to hit it.
Exactly.
So, Dave from the 702 out in Vegas, you know what I mean? Talk to us. So
Man.
the nail versus El Bandera Roja. Who do you got in this fight? It doesn't even call himself Bandera Roja anymore. Is he really going with the Mexican nuts there? Just because Mike Tyson said, I don't even know. But
please,
what do you got in this fight, brother?
Well, first of all, Calix, thank you so much for that information. I'm going to go place my bet at South Point tomorrow for sure. I like the odds of both of that, even decision. Unfortunately, I'm going to disagree with my own co-host here. I think that absolutely this is a very difficult test for David Benavides into the light heavyweight division. It is a former champion. That whole class of Ukrainian fighters are all former world champions or current world champions. And even this weekend, I went back and watched some tape of Adonis Stevenson, who was one of my favorite light heavyweights, who reigned supreme for so long. He was a real boogeyman, but he chose to fight too long into his career when he lost to Gvozdyk. He was 41 years old. Many people thought he should have already hung him up, and that most definitely probably had something to do with him suffering and falling into a coma in that fight. That was Gvozdyk's biggest win of his career. Why after the Beterbiev loss he hung him up? I'm not quite sure, but you have to go with age. You have to go with youth. That long layoff, I guess I'm going to have to kind of agree with Calix. He's not yet. Why I won't go as far as to say he's washed, but that's not the Gvozdyk that we're going to see this Saturday night. It's just not. That's not the guy. The guy that beat Adonis Stevenson I would 100% wager that he beats David Benavides this weekend, but that's not the guy we're going to see in the ring this weekend. Even then, there's always that slim possibility. He's going to have the best training camp of his life. He's going to have spent time with Canelo in preparations because obviously there's some vested interest for Canelo. They want to get as much information as they can, but David Benavides has met this guy in the ring. They've sparred plenty of times, so they know each other well. So I think they have the full confidence that David Benavides can beat the 37-year-old version of this former light heavyweight champion. And then again, it's probably going to be the best fight this Saturday night of all. I don't see the Frank Martin fight being as competitive as some people think it might be. I think the real showstopper is going to be this fight right here. And I hope Gvozdyk comes and wins some rounds. I think he has the potential to win easily 4 or 5 rounds, but I got David Benavides by decision. I don't think he's knocking Gvozdyk out.
Christine, David Benavides is campaigning at 175 pounds. He's fighting former world champion here. And I know he's 37, but can the nail pull it off here against the Mexican nonsense? Because Tyson said it. Like, you know what I mean? But anyway.
Again with that.
No, so I like mostly agree with Joe, and then bits and pieces of the panel. Gvozdyk, I thought he was beating Beterbiev as well until that one shot changed everything. But again, he's older. He's had a long layoff. And Calix, with all due respect, you said that he didn't have fast speed, but he managed to move here and there and this and that. So it's got to be something, I think that also
it's the force.
He's a bumbling fighter. He's a
but he
fighter.
wasn't there. He wasn't there. So obviously it has to be his feet. They may not be pretty.
I don't know.
They may not be, the basic boxing style, but he does move his feet. He may be more sloppy than others, but he is moving his feet. And I think, and he punches more, and he's faster. I think that we're not going to get an upset. Like, I really believe that Benavides, first of all, he has to prove himself in his mind. Like, okay, everybody's like, I don't understand betting, but the 1,200 and the 22, and I don't understand that. But he sees it. He sees it all. And I think that he's going to really show out. And I believe he's going to either stop him in the later rounds or it's going to go to a decision and Benavides is going to win. I don't see Gvozdyk winning, even though, like I said, back in his heyday, he was the shit. And I thought he was beating Beterbiev, but I just don't see it going that way. I don't.
His heyday was in 2019. Like you guys are talking about.
We're in 2024.
Yeah, because he came back in 23. He fought 3 times.
Yeah.
Realize
From 19 to 23,
no
those
one else.
long layoffs, they take an effect. Trust me.
They do.
Things can go down.
You got to be active.
I'm not the same man I was
And you
5 years ago.
keep in mind,
I'm not the
he's
same woman I
37
was.
years old. He's
I mean,
37 years
back in the
old.
day.
I wish I could get those 3 years back. I wouldn't mind being 50.
Right.
I wouldn't mind being 52 again.
37 years
Exactly.
old. That's
Can I
in the
s-
sport of boxing. 37
Time
is
waits
a
on
lot.
no one. No
Can I
one.
explain my position on Benavidez's feet real
Please
quick?
do.
Because he slows opponents down, smaller opponents down with his punching power and his pressure. But he's
I
a
agree.
straight
But you
line
need to have
fighter.
feet to do that, Calix. You can't.
Not
you-
necessarily.
You
Not
have to be
necessarily.
able to have. You have to be able to beat that guy to the spot. So when he tries to escape, you're cutting him off at the pass. That's speed, my friend.
He's
Well,
following.
No, he's anticipating. Watch
So
him.
what
Study
I'll
this
say is
guy.
this: what I'll say, he doesn't have the fastest feet. Like
I don't think so.
if we're honest.
But nobody said he had the fastest feet.
I think he's quick.
Nobody said that.
I think he's got quick feet.
He's got long
He
strides.
does.
He's got long
And they
strides.
may
There
not
it
be
is.
pretty.
There it is.
He strides
Listen,
like a gazelle. He's got
if
long
you-
strides.
If you have speed, regardless of how you have that speed, you have speed.
Facts.
So,
But he doesn't have speed.
But
He's-
not in the definition.
he's very
you're
quick.
using. But
He's very quick.
You even said yourself. I don't know how he does
For
it. but
his
he's
weight
here,
and
then
for
there,
his-
then
his
there.
reach,
So
he's
that's
quick.
speed. That's
He's
Yeah.
very
speed.
quick for his size. Believe
Like,
For
me.
his
I
size,
don't-
he's very, very quick.
I'll
My
say
own-
this.
I'm gonna call him up and
additional-
I'm gonna tell him to do the 40, and I want a video of it. And I bet you he does it in 4.6.
So what I'll say is so when I look at Benavides, right? His hands for sure. I think he has really fast hands, actually.
He does have very fast hands.
But I don't look at his feet and I don't say, man, he's fast. Like it's just
okay, but if
not,
he's here, then here, then here, what's moving him?
Speed.
well, I'm not. I don't particularly think he's not good at getting from point A to point B. I think he's good at that, right? But I agree that he doesn't have fast feet, like in my opinion. Like,
Okay, faster feet than his opponents. Will you agree to that?
So
no, I don't think he beat Andrade because he had faster feet than
no,
him.
he doesn't. So this is the
Well-
thing.
I think
So-
it took him a while, like until Plant slowed down. Then you saw him starting to land more damage, and the punch stats show that.
And
He was
why
having
did
a
Somebody
hard
should have been
time.
in condition then. Just saying.
No,
Well,
he's got
yeah.
good condition. Well, Memo Heredia is not on his team anymore, so we'll see. And the other thing we'll see.
Uh-oh. Oh,
No, I'm just throwing it out there.
What are you
No,
talking about?
I'm not
Memo.
accusing anyone. I'm not accusing
Yeah.
anyone. I'm just saying his conditioning team has changed. And here's another thing. 175, first fight. This will be the first fight he's got an opponent same size. So
Yeah.
does that
Right.
work in his? It could work in his
I still
benefit.
think he's gonna be a lot bigger than Gvozdyk.
A
Yeah.
37
What
year
does he walk
old.
around at? What does he walk around at? So
He's
it
gonna
may
walk
be
in
to
the-
his benefit.
he's
not
gonna
have
walk in
to
that
lose enough
ring.
weight.
He's gonna
That's-
walk in
that's
that
what I'm
ring at
saying.
about. He's gonna walk in that ring about 200 pounds. Gvozdyk's gonna probably be like 190.
200. God damn.
Nah,
So-
I think it's. Well, I think probably.
so that's-
190.
This is the interesting thing about this weekend for me is,
God.
okay, maybe he comes in fresher. Maybe he looks quicker, not having to lose that weight, right? Or maybe his whole thing, maybe his whole aura, much like Chavez Jr. at middleweight, and we saw him move up, is he was the weight bully in the weight class. And now that he's moved up and fighting guys same size, he's not going to have that same effect on his opponents. It's going to be either or.
Yeah, I could see that. I do, but I'll say this: don't sleep on the nail. All right, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
don't
The last guy to come in
37-year-old
200.
guy?
Yeah. The last guy to come in 200 at light heavyweight was Zurdo Ramirez, and he looked awful coming in at
He looked
200
fat, he
pounds.
looked slow. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
I really hope David Benavides does not come close to that. Maybe 190
will.
would be ideal.
Are you talking about the
He will.
current
He'll
cruiserweight
look
champion
soft,
of the
too.
world? Like, what are you
He
doing?
might-
here?
might look
think
soft at
Benavidez is going to
200.
be more comfortable at this weight. I really do.
I'll be honest. I don't even know if
He doesn't have
David
to
could beat
suffer a lot
Zurdo.
to lose weight. He doesn't have to go through that.
I
whole thing.
don't know if he could beat Zurdo, quite frankly, David.
So, I mean, that's another.
I like that
discussion.
fight. I like
That's
that
another.
fight.
I like it too. That's another discussion. I like that better than Canelo. Just
Wow.
saying.
Okay.
But a cruiserweight?
Zurdo's good at 200 pounds. Looks good.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, He's a cruiserweight champion. Better put respect on his name.
Let's
You know
not
what I
show
mean?
this guy some respect, D-Style.
What's up, Jayo Pataya? Like, what you got?
You don't wanna do that.
Whoa,
You don't wanna do
hold
that.
on now.
You don't want to do that.
He's gonna be like, whoa, wait. So let's keep it moving here. Hey, so the main event, the way they're marketing it is the way I titled it: Tank versus Frank. Get it? Because it rhymes.
Oh, you're clever.
Like it's not me, that's PBC. It's Tank versus Frank. Hashtag Tank Frank. Anyway, so Tank Davis is fighting a 30-year-old prospect on pay-per-view. I don't know. Like, look, I like Frank Martin. I think he's a good fighter. I don't. In the words of Mayweather, he's a hell of a fighter. He's a good fighter. You know, that's cool.
Errol Spence says he is too.
But I guess my issue is this, right? What's making this fight a little difficult, I'll be honest, to kind of gauge for me is I haven't seen Martin fight at a certain level yet. So I can kind of assess where he's at. And then Tank, even him, like who's he really fought in his weight classes? Like it's there's so many questions here, which could mean this could actually be a good fight. I just don't know if this is a good fight or not. We're not gonna know until ding ding the bell rings. Tank could blow him out. Martin could surprise us. Who knows, right? Christine, how do you think this is gonna go here?
So I have Tank winning. And I'm going to tell you why. Because as much as people don't want to believe, boxing is a business. It is. So you've got matchmakers, you've got people in higher, whatever, looking, assessing who is so-and-so fought, what have they done. They're not going to match their champion, their guy, their cash cow with somebody that they do not believe that they could beat. And then we look at Frank's past fights. We look at Tank's. Yes. I mean, everybody can talk about like who has Tank really fought, whatever. Well, who has Frank really fought? How old is Frank? How old is Tank? How have they stopped people? What's the knockout ratio? I really believe it comes down to weighing the two. It's almost a science. And I really believe that Tank is going to beat him. Do I think he's going to stop him? I don't, because Frank is very conditioned. Some of my guys have sparred him. And he will go. He can go. But I really believe that Tank is gonna beat him in a decision, in my opinion.
Decision, okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be a decision.
Calix, what do you think of this fight? And who do you think is gonna win?
See, I was actually impressed with Frank Martin in his first 12-round fight against Michel Rivera. I was impressed with him. And then he shows up last year against Artem and arguably gets a gift and looked flat. Yeah. And he's coming off an 11-month layoff. And now you're right about saying this, D-Style. Like, is it a good fight? What do we really know about either guy? Because now Tank's coming off a 14-month layoff. So neither guy's been active. We don't really know where either fighter's at this point. And what we know, though, is, or what I think I know, is Frank Martin is going to win rounds early. He will. Why? How do I know that? Because everybody does against Tank. Tank gives up early rounds, and I think with the long layoff, he'll give up. He'll be prone to give up early rounds, and it's going to be a close fight for the first half of the fight. It's going to be tight, and Frank Martin could be winning the fight through the first half of the fight. But there always comes that moment, and this is the comparison between Tank and Canelo. No, the level of difficulty of their opponents are much different, but they're similar in that middle rounds they crank it up. They crank up their output. They're both are in the 30s in output as far as punches per round, 30s or 40s, but they crank it up in those middle rounds, and then that's where you find out what their opponent's about, and then their IQ takes over. And Tank has that stuff. So that's where I will find out about Frank. And I just think Frank's going to wilt in the middle rounds. And I think it's going to end the same way all of Tank's fights have ended up to this point. And that's a late round Tank Davis stoppage, middle to late round Tank Davis stoppage. I don't think Frank Martin's going to be able to handle that pressure. I think he's very much a guy who has been protected throughout his career. And Frank Martin, Tank Davis is the same, but Frank Martin, they've made him out to look better than he actually is. And I think there's a reason he turned down 7 figures to fight Shakur Stevenson. I don't think they're that they're that confident in his ability. I don't even think he's that confident in his ability if he's turning down that type of money to fight a Shakur Stevenson. And I think all that's going to come into play on Saturday, and he gets stopped.
Okay. Dave, what do you think of this matchup, and who do you believe is? How do you think who wins and how?
So I've had the pleasure to watch Frank Martin twice at the Cosmopolitan. I saw that first fight where Rivera, in hindsight, I think Rivera was overhyped. And then in that most recent matchup where he fought the Eastern European Olympian, we really got to see him against a high-level technician, someone who's faced, international talent at the highest level. And in that fight, I had him losing badly up until the very late rounds where he showed some dog in him. And that surprised me a little bit, how much dog he had. I think in that fight, he gained some real confidence that I can go against guys that are high-level skilled boxers. But, Hank isn't that. He's a ultimate punching machine. And just like Alex pointed out, I think it's going to go just like this same old script. Just like Christine said, why would you put your cash cow against someone you think is going to beat them? I don't think Frank Martin stands a chance. I think he stands a good chance to win those early rounds because Tank typically, does his thing and doesn't throw much offense in the first part of the fight. But as he gets increasingly confident, Frank Martin is going to get countered with some big, heavy shots. And this isn't sparring. I know they've had some history of sparring, and it's just not sparring. This is the real deal. I don't think Frank Martin's going to be able to take those big shots in the later rounds, and he's definitely going to get knocked out in the late rounds.
Manny Marrero, Tank versus Frank. What do you think?
Well, I think there's a couple of fights that Frank should be watching over and over and over. Make sure you don't make a mistake. You got Leo Santa Cruz, Mario Barrios, People Cruz. The exceptionless people. He didn't get knocked out or knocked out. And I think those fights prove that, Tank, it's beatable. All right. And it's not about the pressure. I think it's more about if you make a mistake. Leo Santa Cruz did that. Everyone's done it, except People. And we all saw that People, in my eyes, did win that fight. But I think right now he just needs to be very cautious. He needs to be aggressive. He needs to let his hands loose like he's been doing it. But at the same time, at what point he's going to get caught? And it just happens. It happens over and over and over. In 9, 10, 11th round. You could have a shutout right now. And when you look at it at the end of the day, he's a power puncher. He's a superstar. He's going to pack the arena, and he's going to bring the excitement. The excitement is, what round am I going to knock him out? I'm going to be waiting for that. And so, hopefully that's not the case for Frank. I mean, I like the kid. I've seen a few fights of him, and not major top opponents. And you're right, D-Style. I think they have just hyped him up more than what he's actually, capable of doing in his previous fight. Not to take away his talent, because he is very talented, but at the same time, at what level? And this could be a make it or break it. I don't see it as an upset, but this could be a great chance and opportunity for get a unanimous decision if he stays with a true game plan and doesn't get caught. But everyone gets caught against Tank Davis. So late stoppage, Tank Davis. At least he's back and he's fighting, and he's just fighting someone that's talented and undefeated. And here we are. What's next after that? I don't know, but at least we're seeing him staying active in the ring.
Everyone except Isaac Cruz.
Yep.
So Beeb, Tank versus Frank. What do you make of this fight, and who do you believe will win and how?
The thing about Tank, and Calix made a point about giving up the early rounds, but what it really is he lulls his opponents into a false sense of security. If you go back and you watch that Leo Santa Cruz fight, Leo Santa Cruz threw I think it was 3 or 4 right hands in a row. So after the first one, Leo Santa Cruz is saying, damn, nothing's coming back at me. I'm going to do it again. Then he did it a second time, a third time. think he threw 4 of them. And then after that, Tank's like, okay, boom, uppercut. That's all she wrote, right? So I think, these guys feel comfortable because Tank will let them come to him, right? And he kind of gives you that, right? And once you think that you have Tank where you want him, that's when he explodes on you. The guy's got perfect time and very smart fighter. Frank Martin, Frank Martin's he's tall and he's a bigger guy than Tank, but he likes to work on the inside a lot. He likes to go to the body a lot, and I think that's going to be a problem trying to spend time in the pocket with Tank, because Tank really knows how to fight out of that crouch. He bends his knees, gets low, and then he pops up underneath shots, and he's just really crafty up close. And I think he's going to be the more fluid guy on the inside, and I just think Frank's going to get a little too excited throwing that left hand, and I think he's going to overextend on one of them, and then Tank's going to just boom with a right hook, and it's going to be over. I think Tank's going to finish this fight with a right hook.
Okay, man. By the way, guys, make sure you hit the like button before you go. We definitely appreciate everyone who came on. Catch me on X at DstyleBoxing, and I put the link in the chat. Anybody wants to go to Box Topics for the space later on Christine's and all that good stuff. I appreciate everybody, and shout out to Matias. Hopefully he wins his homecoming, Manny, and we'll see what happens. Shout out to everybody, and tomorrow on this channel, make sure you tune in for HCP. We're gonna have a great guest for you guys. So this is DstyleBoxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here. Peace.
Adios.